The $20 million figure was arrived at looking at the types of behavior involved in this, the police actions, prior jury verdicts, and my own experience in presenting cases to the jury. This is an outrageous and atrocious act on behalf of the police, and a jury will see this devastated family having had their lives ruined because of this bad conduct.
I take it you don't believe any of what the LAPD has said, that in the struggle he went for the gun actually misfired in the holster. You don't believe any of that?
I do not believe that for a second. The video is absolutely clear. There were 6 officers, 4. If you look at the entirety of the video, you start out with simply questioning of a homeless man, and you escalate it into violence, and you see them beating him, tasing him, kicking him, and you see the only person you see initially go for his gun, if you watch the video closely, is the rookie officer who goes up and then gets down on top of him and creates a horrible situation. I mean, this is a cop-created killing. It is something that should never have happened.
Dan, what was the diagnosis, the mental illness diagnosis, and how long ago was it diagnosed?
There was a diagnosis within the system. I'm not certain as to what it was. We don't agree with it. We think that it was a withdrawal from his culture, a removal from his family that caused the emotional problems, and that they are not diagnosable.
So it wasn't a clinical diagnosis of any kind?
There supposedly was. We don't have that from the Federal Bureau yet.
Okay. Was he about to get off Skid Row, or what was his plan?
He had reunited with his family in June of this year. They talked almost daily for the entire time he was attempting to go back to Cameroon to reestablish his relationship with his family there. He was about to get off Skid Row.
The issue is not if he's mentally ill. This was wrong, and he was murdered. We should have sued for $100 million. This needs to stop.
Dan, can I ask a quick question?
Downtown.
Just 1 second.
How critical? Good timing. How critical do you think the video will be to your case?
Oh, the question was, how critical will the video be? It is devastating for the police. Any police practices expert, and we have retained one, will tell you that they violated every basic precept of good policing. If there had been one officer there, Charlie Kanang would be alive. Instead, they escalated to a point of violence on their part, and the result was they killed him.
Well,
What about the body cam video?
Excuse me?
The body camera video. I guess 2 officers
Two
also
officers had
their
body camera videos. They refused to release them. They're back, I'm sure, sitting up there someplace, going over and concocting a story.
You expect to get that in discovery?
Oh, absolutely. We will get those body cameras.
And Dan,
Let me ask somebody who hasn't
Chief
Sorry.
Begazori basically said the shooting was justified. Your thoughts about that as you start moving forward in the legal process?
If you look, I mean, if you watch the video, or if you watch the Beck's press conference, when Beck says, hey, the real victim here is the person that we called and said that they had been assaulted. And then he totally diminishes the violent and brutal behavior of the police officers. What is my response to Beck? My response is he should get another job. The question is, do we think the district attorney's office will help us? We have demanded from the district attorney's office an investigation and a prosecution. Whether or not they carry out their duties is totally up to them.
Dan, there's been inference here that this was racially motivated. Do you believe that's the case, that these officers killed him because he was an unarmed black man?
I think the officers have established a profile of who they can use violent force against, and he falls within that profile. And I think it's a racist profile.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Could you talk a little bit about how he ended up there? I mean, he was under a different name, and like how that.
Sure. I just realized I'm answering all the questions. We should have other people answering some questions. Okay. I'm sorry. The question.
How did he end up there on Skid Row? And
He
under
was
a different
released
name?
from federal custody. He reestablished relationships with his family. For a period of time, he was living in the valley. Then he moved down here in the process because it was so expensive for him to be traveling up and down from the valley to try to get all the paperwork done that he needed to be down here, and he was in order to further his intent to return to Cameroon.
What about the different name? He was under not under.
That's what he went to prison with. When he came out, he with his family retook his real name. He retook it for purposes of probation. He retook it for purposes of re-entry into Cameroon.
But the issue is he's a human being. It doesn't matter what he did for a living, what he didn't do. You just ask why he got here. He's a human being. I live downtown. I support the LA mission. This is unnecessary violence. They could have shot him in the knee. That would have brought him to the floor.
Thank you.
They
Thank
didn't
you,
need to
everyone, and
kill
thank
him.
you for your
That's
support.
the bottom line.